Hello, Lord Selkirk regional community. You may have noticed some changes taking place in the cafeteria lately. This is because recently, after consultation, the Lord Selkirk School Division decided to rename the cafeteria the Senator Sinclair Commons, named for Murray Sinclair, probably one of Selkirk's most significant graduates. Murray Sinclair has a long history of advocating for Indigenous peoples, most notably as chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that investigated the tragic history of the Indian residential school system. As we can see from the terrible discovery of a mass grave of 215 children last week in Kamloops, British Columbia, the work of finding truth and working towards reconciliation is incredibly important. And so it is an honor to be able to recognize the unbelievable work of Murray Sinclair by renaming our cafeteria a place of gathering and dialogue, the Senator Sinclair Commons. To help reflect on Murray Sinclair's work, I've asked two of our students, Desiree Mead and Hayden Gilmore, to read out the inscription that is found on the commemorative plaque that is now found in our commons. After hearing from our two students, you will hear a pre-recorded message from Murray Sinclair, who was supposed to have been here in person to address the school, but due to the pandemic was unable to do so.
Senator Murray Sinclair, Ojibwe Mizna Gizik, one who speaks of pictures in the sky. Senator Murray Sinclair was born on January 24, 1951. He was raised on the former St. Peter's Indian Reserve located north of Selkirk, Manitoba. In 1968, he graduated from Selkirk Collegiate Institute as Class Valedictorian and Athlete of the Year. He received his law degree from the University of Manitoba and as a lawyer, specialized in civil and criminal litigation, Indigenous law, and human rights.
In 1988, Sinclair was appointed to the Provincial Court of Manitoba, becoming Manitoba's first Indigenous judge and only the second Indigenous jurist in Canada's history. That same year, he was appointed to co-commissioner of the Aboriginal Justice Inquiry, which concluded that Indigenous people face systematic and long-standing discrimination in Manitoba's justice system. In 2001, Sinclair once again made history as the first Indigenous judge appointed to Manitoba's Court Queen's Bench. 8 years later, Sinclair chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, a key component of the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement. The commission heard testimony from over 6,000 residential school survivors and other witnesses before concluding that the school system was part of a broader attempt by the Canadian government and other agencies to perpetuate a cultural genocide. Sinclair identified 94 calls to action to readdress the legacy of residential schools and advance reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in Canada.
In 2016, Sinclair was appointed to the Senate by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Sinclair has inspired to challenge and correct injustice, question the historic treatment of Indigenous people in Canada, and to take action in the spirit of reconciliation. We are honored to name this common space for Murray Sinclair. May all who enter this space use it to reflect on his legacy.
Thank you very much. I want to just tell you that this is a real honor that's being bestowed upon me, and I'm so glad to be a part of this because I have such a strong connection to Selkirk, having grown up here all of my life until I went away to university. And I've traveled the world. I've been to many places and spoken with many groups, taught judges in England. I've spoken to people in South Africa, and I've spoken with dignitaries at the United Nations, as well as in Washington and Harvard University and Ottawa, of course, in my work as a senator. But there is probably no honor that is more important to me than having your hometown recognize you for the fact that you come from them and from among them, and also that part of what it is that you have done at least has contributed to their sense of self and their sense of validation. And so I appreciate that, appreciate being honored in that way. Having grown up in Selkirk, I know a bit about the town. I know a lot about the history. I know as well about the relationship that people have formed here. I still have many friends who live here, and I keep in touch with them as much as I can. My sister still lives in this town, and I recently have moved back into the RM of St. Andrews in order to be close to my home community. all of that just indicates the fact that home is a concept that is very important to me. It's very important to everybody as well. And you will find yourself at some point in your life recognizing that. I have to say that I didn't go to school in Lord Selkirk Comprehensive High School. I went to school at the Selkirk Collegiate Institute, which I think now is the junior high. I don't recall there being a cafeteria there. So we had to bring our lunch, and we basically ate our lunches in the classrooms. But having said that, that doesn't mean that we didn't have events going on at noontime that weren't important, and that our gatherings at noontime weren't important. We had significant opportunities to talk to each other, to meet with each other, to get to know each other at places such as this. And so I want to encourage all of you to recognize that what goes on in a cafeteria of this type is an important opportunity for you to form relationships with each other, to form friendships, to learn about not only this community, but about the role of this community in the world. The city of Selkirk has an opportunity to place itself in the history of this province and the history of this country in an important way. At one time, many people don't know this, but at one time, the city of Selkirk was being considered to be the capital of Manitoba. But politics being what it was, the capital was moved to Winnipeg. But nonetheless, there's an important and rich history in this area, not only for the Indigenous people who had settled in this territory for a long time, but also for the settler populations who came here and established their presence as well. And the relationship between the Indigenous people and the settlers who came to this part of the world is an important part of what we are trying to achieve when we talk about reconciliation, when we talk about coming to terms with what's happened between us and what's happened to our relationship since Confederation. So this place is a place of reconciliation, I hope. It's a place where we can begin to renew those relationships in a good way, where we can establish friendships in a good way. Because reconciliation really does turn on a very simple concept, and it is that I want to be your friend, and I want you to be mine. And so that if we are friends together as we grow up, we will always be friends. And that means that our children can be friends, and that they can have a good relationship too. So thank you to all of those who are responsible for having created this special place, for having given me the honor of naming it after me, Murray Sinclair Commons. Doesn't roll off my tongue easily, but that's only because I'm not used to having things named after me, even after all of these years and all of the various awards that I've received. But this is one that's very special to me, and I hope that you can enjoy this space as much as I enjoyed my time going to school in Selkirk, Manitoba. Thank you.